Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Cherries Podcast. I'm Inji.
And I'm Ghalia, and today's episode is super exciting, especially if you're a business owner, a startup dreamer, or just obsessed with how things get delivered so fast these days.
As always, the Cherries Podcast will tap into the personality we're talking to, their hot topics, how is their business a part of the culture that is shaping the city and the Middle East. So we're looking forward to taking you through another episode of ours. Today, we're diving into the world of smart on-demand delivery with someone who knows it inside and out. Please help us in welcoming Bassel from Quiqup. Hi, Bassel.
Nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Lovely to have you with us. So you're going to share how Quiqup started, how businesses grow, and hopefully give us some real life examples, case studies where your mindset was at. So
Looking forward to it, and everybody should meet Kenny.
our guest,
His mascot.
the mascot of Quiqup, is Ken.
The mascot of Quiqup, my best friend.
So, for people who might not know, how did Quiqup start? What is Quiqup? If you can tell us a little more about it.
All right, let me tell you what Quiqup is, and then we can talk about how it started later. So Quiqup is an end-to-end e-commerce logistics platform. Basically, we provide solutions for e-commerce brands to help them reach their customers and manage the operations behind their e-commerce business. That means everything from them having to manage their inventory of stock, storing it, picking it, packing it, shipping it locally, shipping it internationally, managing returns, and also overlaying that is the communication with their end customer throughout the journey that starts with them hitting the checkout button and paying for whatever they just purchased. So we sit in the background as a technology partner that orchestrates the operation across. Plus, we provide the physical services underneath that technology that enables the delivery of goods in the best way to your customers.
Okay, and I know that you guys started in London. Now you're based fully in the UAE, or how? Are you still present in London?
So the business started in the UK. We were an entirely different business to what we are now. You were familiar with that business. You actually, funny enough, were one of the people who helped us start that business, and you also ordered quite a lot from it. So to tell people what that business was, so basically we used to provide an on-demand delivery solution for consumers. We would deliver anything in London within 30 to 40 minutes, and that included food, grocery, pharmacy, something you want from Harrods, something you want from Harvey Nicks, whatever it is, and so the business started there. We were competing against Deliveroo and the likes, and in 2017 we made a decision to test the UAE market with a new proposition. Our proposition was to kind of take that technology that we had built in servicing our own business and fast deliveries and providing that technology and operations to all retailers. So that kind of started off our entry into the market here. We very quickly saw that the market was starved for these kinds of solutions. The e-commerce industry at that time in the UAE and the region was still very nascent, and if you weren't selling on Amazon or Noon and you didn't have your integrated logistics set up and you're an e-commerce brand, you didn't have a great solution to deliver to your customers in a way that customers were used to in kind of the 21st century. Not having to be contacted a million times to schedule a delivery, ask where you are, when are you going to be home, where is your home, etc. So with our entry to the market, we brought an expectation of 3 to 5 days delivery. That was the case here when we first entered. We brought it into the same day and next day, and we digitized the entire journey, so the customer never needed to be contacted. And we were able to find success very early on with some pretty decent brands, and so that eventually kind of gave us the impetus to kind of double down on the UAE and eventually pivot. There's a bit more to that story, but we'll keep it at that.
But sorry, I just wanted to ask you something. Do you feel during that entry into the UAE market, what was the most important part for you? These smaller, like to mid-range brands that helped you grow quick up here, or was it these big retailers?
Yeah, it's a great question. So when we first came to the market, uh, you didn't have a lot of the SMEs participating in the online.
That's true, yeah. Yeah.
2017, 18, 19, 20 even, the market was reserved for,
Brick and mortar mostly.
it was dominated by Amazon, Noon, Nemshi, etc., and a couple of the big boys at the time. And in fact, the bricks and mortar were the sort of long tail, which is not natural for the shape of a market, because those bricks and mortars were large international brands like Sephora and H&M, etc. Um, but the reason the market was shaped that way is because the overall market was quite small at the time. In terms of what was spent on retail, about 6 to 7% of purchases would go online. So it's very small in comparison to benchmarks in the West, where it ranges from like 25 to 35, even 40% in cities like London, for example. So we focused first on the bricks and mortar brands. It was the big brands. So we would focus on like the Al Shayas, the Shalhoubs, the Azadeas, the apparels, and their retail brands like H&M, Foot Locker, Victoria's Secret,
Like the big legacy brands you'd see in malls,
and
basically.
mega stores, etc. So that was the starting point, and that helped us prove the model on the delivery side of things. COVID accelerates the ecosystem. It was a catalyst for people to finally adopt,
100%.
and in fact,
They had no other option.
they had no other option. And actually, it makes a lot of sense for e-commerce to work in this part of the world, because it's a service-oriented culture and you can't walk to buy your stuff, right? Like, it's very simple. Post-COVID, we kind of started to see the emergence of these sort of independent brands. And we saw that very early on. And in fact, actually, we even saw it slightly before COVID. And we kind of positioned ourselves as the go-to SME solution very early on, but we saw that like there weren't enough of those businesses, neither did their volumes justify us to fully focus in that direction, but we still kind of like spoke their language and positioned ourselves for them. Post COVID, and in fact in 2021 is where we really started to see those SMEs start to enter the market in large numbers. And maybe I'll give you like a sense of scale. Like we look at Shopify as a bit of a proxy to like the size of the market in a way, like number of Shopify stores. There were in 2021 or about 1,500, 1,700 active Shopify stores in the UAE. If you look at the number today, it's like upwards of 35,000.
Incredible.
So that happened in between 2021 and 2025, right? And so we saw that early on, and we're like, okay, we're going to focus on servicing these businesses. It's always been Quickup's vision to level the playing field and empower local mom and pop shops to kind of flourish and be able to compete. Um, and so when we focused on these businesses, we started to realize that their pain points are across the entire kind of operations stack of managing
100%.
an e-commerce brand. And so that's when we went from being a delivery focused business into providing that like end-to-end solution.
And it's interesting because when you say COVID, because people also realized, like you're saying, the growth of small to middle enterprises with COVID. And that does happen because people are at home coming up with different ideas, seeing the value of starting their own business. And I think the mentality shifted from your end as someone offering them that service, and also people thinking about starting their own. Like I think it wasn't just the shift to e-commerce more per se.
It was the shift to entrepreneurship as well. Yeah.
I think COVID really started entrepreneurship for a lot of people here, especially in the region.
Was that your story?
For us, no, curated playlist started like 3 years after that. But I do believe the shift you're talking about, the system you're talking about, encouraged people like us to really feel okay. There are now pain points for all of these startup brands, especially in retail, that we want to deliver some services to. And the pop-up environment, honestly, it's very similar to what you're saying. There wasn't many pop-ups, there wasn't a lot of demand for that. By the time we actually started curated, there was so much demand for pop-ups, but to be given at a level that only the big brands used to get, whether it's from the marketing services, the PR services, the elevated brick and mortar space. All of a sudden we then saw, okay, all of this is missing from our corporate retail experience, where like these are the deliverables that should be given to anyone, like you said, from A to Z. And So I think the entrepreneurship shift was the stepping stone into businesses like ours building.
But you know, like there's stuff that you said there that I resonate quite a lot with. I think that's like one of the things that we say when we pitch to our clients is we say that like we're providing you with a solution that is typically reserved for the big boys,
100%.
right? And so we're democratizing access to an infrastructure that will allow you to compete and present yourself to your clients and run your operations in a way that a large business can.
100%. 100%. And it's the best, honestly, unique selling proposition you can give any small business because they hear that and then you give it to them at a price that's not insane as well.
100%.
They're sold, And I think that's where you guys also saw that big shift in demand with your businesses.
The acceleration of growth of Quiqup really started to happen in 2022. And if you want, that was sort of like a result of the focus that we chose to do in 2021 around SMEs and around providing that sort of like end-to-end solution. We saw that if you are able to enable those SMEs and make their lives easier, they grow. And in fact, like what we saw, an interesting metric for us was the cohorts of the clients that we acquired in 2021 became partners of ours. In 2022, they grew by about 41%.
That's incredible.
Organically, right?
That's incredible.
So then we just started to follow that track of the market.
Yes. Really quickly before we move on, you mentioned UAE and you're mentioning 2017, 2018. Yes, the UAE was growing by then. And I mean, it's incredible how much the city in Dubai and even Abu Dhabi grew. But why the UAE? Like, why that from the Middle East?
Look, I mean, we had many reasons. We had investors who are large retailers in this part of the world. So there was this kind of synergistic view that when we come here, there's going to be business for us from day one. But also kind of we looked at the market and saw, like every factor that this market is made up of supports there being a very strong e-commerce ecosystem, but it wasn't yet there. So we're like, okay, this is just bound to happen. We just need to position for it.
So based on my experience, back when I was living in London, I actually had my own brand. And I remember the deliveries when I was shipping out orders was super, super difficult. Like, for example, the weather, I had to go walk to the post office and then it would take so many days to deliver and then the packages would be lost. But now when I moved to the UAE and I actually have my own brand where I signed up with Quiqup because it's super easy, like you guys solved such a big thing for me, just being there and being able to provide this 4-hour delivery service or the next day delivery service. So I just want to ask, like, what problems do Quiqup solve, like aside from just this?
I think primarily the main problem we're trying to solve is enabling growth by removing barriers from you in terms of the time that you invest in doing things that are not really helping you grow. So the whole premise of Quiqup is giving the entrepreneur their time back so that then they can focus on the things that matter, building their product, their brand and marketing, and just being whatever they need to be to support that business. So ultimately, everything kind of starts from there. And then the way that we approach us kind of building new services, launching new products, etc., are always around how can we remove more and more of these barriers and more and more of these processes that will enable our businesses to focus on what they need to focus on and not have to hire a bunch of people to run their operations. So as I said, it started off with us doing the very basic part, which is the delivery. But we did not do it in a basic way. As I said, also we do it the fastest in the most accurate way possible. We remove the hassle from the end customer, and then we really focus on elevating that post-purchase and customer experience by having the right kind of tracking links communication, giving the end customer the preference of choosing whether they want to get their item left at the door or to kind of change the date, time in which they get their order, etc. We even provide brands with the ability to brand that whole experience and remarket themselves to their clients, given that that tracking page is such a high intent part of the user journey. So that was our starting point. And then we realized with a lot of our clients, like, oh my God, my living room is gone because all of my stuff is everywhere. And so we're like, okay, you need to have your living room back, and you should not be spending all of your time in picking and packing and getting lost with how do you manage that inventory and what items you have left and how do you count those constantly, etc. So then we kind of went into the storage and fulfillment part, and we provided that as one of our services. We started to see these businesses grow, and as they grow, they start to have an audience outside of the country. But like, good luck going and like working with like a DHL and Aramex directly for international shipping. It's a pain, right? And so we kind of like simplify that, simplify the documentation, make the proposition easy for you to explain to your end customer by like, you know, dealing with taxes and customs taxes at the checkout, rather than, you know, customer receives an item and then they need to figure out what they need to pay for and be surprised by all that. So plus we kind of like integrated that directly into your typical order flow, so you don't need to enter in orders manually into the system internationally. And some of the interesting stuff we do there is like we built an AI module that then validates all the addressing to make sure that every address that's being entered into the system has a high confidence score of success when it reaches that country in a way that, you know, that country's addresses are organized. And if it's a low confidence score, we would send out an automated message and get that end customer to fix the address in a way that would lead to success. And so all of these things are typically things that like our entrepreneurs, our partner entrepreneurs would have to do themselves or would have to hire teams to do. We're removing these processes from them in order for them to focus on their marketing and growth.
What else do you think you guys can provide to simplify the process even more? Like if you guys are adding anything new to this or not, if you can let us know.
I think that like some of the things that we are thinking about um, is the basic stuff. Like there's no good return solution in the region. So, you know, creating a very simple and easy way for customers to be able to initiate a return, and that for that to be not a painful exercise, not to have to print labels and like wait for the guy to be there and miss it the first time and the second time, etc. So there's a focus on that right now. There's a focus on eventually launching an exchange capability, so you can buy something, see that you don't like the product, exchange it for another product, and for that to happen in one go.
That's incredible.
Would be amazing, honestly.
I like that resonated with you. So I'm doing market testing.
Yeah, because
We're your focus group.
it's so annoying that, like, for example, if a customer wants to process a return, they have to do the return and then you have to send the new shipment and then you have to wait for the other
such a
like delivery
process.
driver to get the return. Like it's such a process. Exactly, like it becomes so difficult on the brand owner that you have to wait and process all of these things that in the end it's like wasted time, like you're saying. So you just want to simplify the process to the maximum.
Yeah, and like what we would like to also remove from you is like, you know, can we have a certain like 3-step guidelines to do the quality control? Meaning that like when we've received the return, can we take images in a certain way that you give us like instruction on, and we say, okay, there's the tag needs to stay on. It needs to be packaged in a certain way. It needs to look clean in a certain way, and we can take photos to ensure that. And that kind of like allows for that return to already be validated by you, so that then you can issue a refund to your client as fast as possible, which is a pain point. Clients want their money back when they've returned as fast as possible in order for them to trust you and buy again. So we want to try to reduce the manual tasks from you in order for you to be able to get those clients back and keep moving forward, basically.
Honestly, that step is particularly important for the business, equally so for the customer. Like what you're saying now, because the business has that anxiety when it comes to returns and then levels of stock, and you're recounting your inventory. And like you said, the customer from the other end, it's like instant gratification with everything. I want my money quickly. I want my other size quickly. So the shorter you create that timeline, the more seamless the process. Like you're saving both ends so much trouble. Just
So let's take that a bit kind of forward, and let's say like we really succeeded at building this. What could that look like? Imagine that like we can, at the customer's door, as soon as we receive product, we've done the 3-step process that we've agreed on, and immediately that triggers you to automatically send a refund, and it takes in that product into your stock. Like that's like us kind of Yeah, and so you can start selling it even before it's back in on the shelf, right? Like, so that's sort of like taking what we're thinking about doing all the way to like perfection, right?
But there's something I just wanted to clarify. You're saying the exchange of product, if I understood correctly. So does that mean that when you're going to pick up the item, let's say they want to exchange, you have the exchange item already with you. So and while you're picking it up, you have the other.
That's the idea.
That's incredible.
That's how. So we're focused. We're focused on building this stuff. I actually currently, and so this will be in kind of. I'm giving you a sneak peek into our future.
We love it. Yeah, we love it.
It's kind of a full circle thing because if the brand processes things really simply for their customers and then everything is very smooth in the logistics side, you are also making money. You are also keeping that brand happy while the brand is keeping the customer happy. So all about customer retention as well.
Our interests with our clients are fully aligned. As they grow, we grow, and so it is our main objective for them to grow in the best way possible.
Okay, so I think we spoke a lot about technicalities, but also that comes with the person that you are behind building his business with your business partners. So take us a little bit through what was the mindset shift when you started Quiqup, even from the London days that you're talking about, and how did you bring your group about to start this business? Like, where were you guys at with your personal lives, with your careers, and how did that whole mindset come together?
Wow. Um, the early days are are just the best always. Um, you start off with this like naiveness, this like beginner's mind, this
Yeah.
like everything's possible, and and at least for me, that's sort of like what drove me. It was like I could not see barriers to anything, and so we were in that energy of creation.
Yeah.
And like the great thing about the beginning is that like everything that you do is new. Everything that you do has like some sort of an impact, whether negative or positive, and that was ultra exciting, and it was like the ultimate manifestation of that like concept of like freedom and freedom in sort of like the professional sense, and then like you can do whatever you want. You can create a culture. You can impact the world in a certain way, and also there's like the business behind that. So that was super exciting. It was super exciting to the point of it took away everything with it too. So it became everything.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden you kind of like fast forward into 2 years later, and things, you start to see problems, and now you have a larger team, and you're firefighting, and there are issues that you're needing to deal with, and you're still on that upward trajectory, but things aren't as simple as they were when you first started, and 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 then I had that realization that, oh damn, like you think that like starting a business is this thing that like gives you ultimate freedom, but then when it works, it becomes the thing that you're like 100% committed to, and you cannot just walk away.
100%.
Cannot just walk away, and
Yep.
um, and then you realize that the past couple of years you've eliminated a lot of your social life and a lot of the things that make you you.
Yep.
So your identity starts to be very attached to the thing that you're building.
Yep.
And so yeah, like there was a bit of a reckoning that I needed to do around like I think year 2 of Quiqup, of like, okay, I need to come back to myself. I need to like exercise whatever it is that's gonna allow me to disconnect emotion to the events that are happening around me and allow me to see a little bit more clearly. So started engaging sort of like mindfulness practices, etc. That was like 10 years ago now, and so then the reality starts. It's like you've built a business, you're understanding that there's you and the business, and then the stakes are starting to get quite high.
Yep.
We had raised a serious amount of capital at the time. There was
Yep.
expectation of like growing fast, of competing in a very, very, very highly competitive market. And for us, I mean, in our first iteration, we flew, and then we hit a bit of a wall, I would say, in the sense that, like, yeah, there are the competitive forces around us, and our speed of execution didn't allow for us to break through with Uber coming into the market, etc. And by even not making an option for Uber to come into the market, or by surpassing Deliveroo, they were ahead of us. Um, and that was very difficult because, a lot of what, you build in yourself is this confidence that you can do it,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And the reality is that, like, 9 times out of 10, you can't.
Correct.
And that's the truth of reality of the world that we live in. But when you actually see that reality, it's fucking tough.
Yeah.
Can I say fucking?
Yeah, we can learn.
We're chill.
Yeah, and so yeah, there was a moment in time when we had to go through that, like, pivot. It was not a moment in time; it was an extended period of time when we were going through that pivot, and when we had to start from scratch and rebuild the story, where it was really tough. It
Yeah.
was really, really tough, and so at that point in time, it took me a while to kind of level out,
Yeah.
going through, what in a lot of ways you could call like a failure,
Yeah.
right? But then you needed to kind of like see it as not that, right?
Yeah.
But it takes time for that
To adjust.
the paradigm shift to switch into, well, actually that was the best damn learning experience that I could have gone through, and wow, what an experience it was, the ups and downs and the flying, and in terms of growth and the growing of a team, and then the realization of the need for a pivot,
Yeah.
etc. It's really difficult to go through that, but also it's better than any degree you can get. Then it was sort of like this process of reconfiguring the way that I viewed my reality, um, and also the way that I kind of viewed my identity within that, and kind of re-separating that out from the events that have happened. And then I needed to kind of like focus a lot on my actual physical self.
Yes.
Exercise, run, eat well, give myself love, etc. Because ultimately that is what will allow you to see a bit clearer, and at least have the chemistry in your system working with you, not against you.
100%. I wanted to touch on something. You said that a big part of your identity, and I think this goes for most men, especially, I would say, in that men really realize their identity through their success at work. And your identity becomes what you do in a lot of ways, especially here, I would say, in the Middle East, but I think something global. So, how, and you said there was this naivety, but also confidence.
Yeah.
And then you hit some roadblocks that you surpass.
Yeah.
But how did you gain your confidence throughout those 10 years plus of my identity as a man, the confidence I get as a man? Is a multitude of things. It's not just how successful or not my business is. It's not just being one of the co-founders of Quiqup. It's so many other things. Did you get to that point where you realize your identity outside of work and what you do? It's about your successes elsewhere.
There was a point in time when I spent about 3 months back home in Lebanon, and it was during one of those, like, during that difficult phase post pivot. And while I was there, I was surrounded by the richness of our culture, my family, would like such an amazing family. My tetas and my aunts, and I owe a lot to my aunts and my parents, and there were a lot of, like, really kind of deep conversations filled with wisdom that then brought me back to the fact that the biggest wealth that I have are the people that are in my life, and that is actually the dominant part of my identity. It's like the the Theta, the Lebni, and the gathering,
Yeah.
right? And so when I was able to find myself comfortable in that, despite what I was going through on the business side, that separation really started to happen. you know, and I think that that was like essential, sort of like I didn't even plan it. Like I just
Yeah.
went to Lebanon. I felt I needed to be there, and I just didn't leave for 3 months. And it was probably one of the most difficult phases during like the Quiqup journey, and it was sort of like this mindfulness retreat,
Yes.
Lebanese style. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that that sort of that was the moment for me. Everyone has their own ways, but like
Sure.
that was the moment for me. So, and you know, like it's that family, but then it also extends into the friendships and the support system that.
You're happy, Smith.
So I would say that basically being around specific kinds of people would help ground you, and that's how you were able to transition and make a balance between the two, where it's business and then your personal life.
Yeah, yeah.
And do you go back to that time and time again when things get difficult? Like, do you go back to that consciously more now to go back to Lebanon or to be around loved ones?
Yeah, 100%.
And it helps you.
100%. And I've been making a very conscious effort, I think, since 2023 in just reconnecting with people that I lost contact with over the 15 years of my life that I've been on this like track.
But I think it's super normal when you go through that kind of specific journey of entrepreneurship, you're bound to lose a lot of people. And I feel like the people that stay by you are the ones that truly understand that your focus now is on building something that's very meaningful for you. And those people are the ones that would stand by you no matter what, even if you lose contact or you disappear from their lives, but they're still there.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree. I would just also add that there are some really amazing people that like you know you just lost contact because
Yeah,
you're
because of life.
indecisive and life, etc.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Dr. Seuss thing of those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. I really carry that, especially with personal relationships, like those that are meant to serve a purpose time and time again in your life throughout your trajectory, whether personal or professional, they're gonna be there. And then other people, and we spoke about this in our first episode actually, where some people are just not meant to be the roots of who we are as a tree. Some people will come, they have their season, they serve that, and then they go. And you should be absolutely okay with that. But I think there needs to be a conscious effort to make sure that I'm not part of the problem of losing people along the way because I'm putting too much emphasis on my career or on any certain area in life. It doesn't just have to be career. But I think it's really interesting because men in general, and I see it with women now a lot as well, especially with entrepreneurship spirit. But with men, it's very like, okay, my career is my life. And until I get to a certain point, I can't do anything else. Until I'm comfortable here, then I could be comfortable everywhere else. And I think this mindset really needs to change.
Yeah, it's
You can do different things at the same time.
I don't think it's like productive, let's say,
Exactly.
because ultimately you make better decisions when you're in a better mind.
100%.
So even from a business perspective, being comfortable and being who you are and is I think tantamount to you creating success.
Do you feel as a man, if, for example, you're not perfect in one specific thing, for example, if you're not super successful in business, you are not able to go down, for example, the marriage route or have the best kind of friendships? Like, do you make sure to focus on one thing, make it perfect, and then you can go into something else where your mind says like, okay, now I'm ready to get married. Now I'm ready to build more friendships. Now,
I think, yeah, like, do you want to prep that up so well
yeah,
in other aspects, or can you do it simultaneously?
yeah, like multitask. Because us as females, I think we multitask. Like we can be perfect at our jobs, we can be perfect at our marriage, we can be perfect with friendships. I think men are programmed differently.
I feel like my mom asked you to ask me this question.
No. No.
My mom or my aunt? He's your mom's friend. So, look, I mean, there's just the practicality of it all, right? Like, ultimately, it's a tough job, tough journey, etc. And when you're building a business that is growing at the kind of pace that is expected from venture capital funders, etc., like the space that occupies purely in terms of time just makes it so difficult for you to be able to see anything else, right? And I've kind of like I made peace with that, and I made that realization, and I have been putting in the effort to try to carve out a part for my life, right? And I've been very conscious of that. Whereas, for as I described, for a very long time, you're not even conscious of that just because you're like overwhelmed by all of it, right? And everything that's happening within that. So I wonder if that's like a man thing, or if it is like building a venture-backed business thing. I suck at multitasking, but where I actually need is a lot of context switching.
Yes.
So like I need the environment to keep changing, and the thing that I'm focused on to keep changing in order for me to stay engaged.
Yes, and you said you did some mindful like exercises. What would you say is one exercise that does help you manage both? It's not multitasking per se, but like you said, it's a work-life balance. It really comes down to that. So what's like one conscious thing you do, maybe a tiny thing every day?
Like, as much as it's been talked about so much over the past decade, but like really mindfulness practice in the form of meditation every day,
Yeah.
even if it's just 10 minutes, is super powerful.
Yeah.
It's super powerful. And the thing is, like, it has a compounding effect, and probably the reason why most people drop out, and so do I many times, and then get back into it, is that the nature of it is that it takes time for you to start to see the impact.
Correct, yeah.
And sometimes you're like sitting there and you're like, why am I doing this? And then it'll take like a year for you to then realize, oh, damn, okay, I'm starting to really see a difference in the way that I approach things, in the way that my mind is, in the way that I separate myself from my emotion. I can see it, and I can make peace with it, but also react in the way that I want to.
Yeah.
And have that kind of like, it's not the word control, but it's submission to submission towards control, right?
Yes, 100%. There's something else, and one we're talking about is that I was just reading an article. It says we're all main characters in our lives, and you focus so much that the whole world revolves around you. And I think our generation, specifically Gen Zs, even more so, like millennials downwards, people really focus on, okay, it's me, my objectives, my goals in my life, that we forgot that we are part of community. And I really think that's why, for example, coming back to marriage, that so many people are getting married later. It's not just because of a work-life balance or life takes you away. It's because I'm putting myself first subconsciously. Like even when you meditate, you're thinking, or for people who pray, it's more like, God, I want this, or universe, please conspire to give me this. But we never think as a whole anymore, And so everything else comes second after me, after where I want to reach in business, where I want to reach looks-wise, health-wise, whatever, even socially. Okay, but are we actually thinking of our friends? Are we thinking, let's say you have a partner in life, like, am I thinking about him or her in that way? Like, where are they? Where am I meeting them?
Yeah.
So do you think that is true? Like, do you guys ever think we have become very main character personality?
I mean, our phones have a selfie cam. We're literally designing a world where, we are the main character, and, social media amplifies that to another degree and level. So yeah, like I do agree with you. And I think there's something about like our Eastern cultures
Yep.
that can ground us back into what actually matters, at least for us. I mean, like, it's not for everyone.
100%. 100%. Your business partners,
Yeah.
do you believe you guys sit and have these, okay, now we're business partners, now we are friends? How do you also balance that? Like, to make the time to...
It's very dynamic. It's not like
Is it hard to separate between the two?
we don't see it as a business in the formal sense. So it's like fluid, like it's like we're friends and then talking about the business, and then friends, and we hang out and we don't, and we go in phases where we are very into each other's lives. Sometimes we're not, and I think that's okay, like
For
there
sure.
allow for there to be a natural flow. I think there was a time when we would like allocate time and all of that, and maybe that was important in the early phases, but we've been in each other's lives long enough now that we, there's this common understanding of how
Yeah.
things are.
And you have check-ins with each other with this trajectory of your mindset shifting. They have their own mindset shift.
Yeah.
So do you have check-ins with each other to make sure, like,
Yeah.
you are in good base?
Yeah. In a very bro way.
Yeah.
But like,
It sounds like girls.
Us we're like, I love you. Are you okay?
yeah, but I would say maybe like an elevated bro way.
In a more woke way.
More meaningful, yeah.
Amazing.
How has your nationality shaped your psychology?
So I spent like the most part of my early adult life, I would say, all through my 20s and into my 30s, in a way seeking something different, right? Like I kind of rejected who I am and where I come from, and was seeking this sort of like glorified view of the Western world, because we had that culture in our country. Like it's what we watched, it's what we looked up to. It's like everything from like the music to the movies, etc. And so I left Lebanon, and I made a very conscious effort to integrate into the rest of the world. And I think that that's like a big part of my wealth, in the sense that like today I can go into any city in Europe, and I can land there as a local. I'm in someone's home, not a hotel, and I experience that place as if it were my own. Um, so yeah, and it was only later on that and through what I described to you earlier, that I actually realized that, I was seeking something that was well within my reach, and actually that there is so much of what I was looking for that is deeply rooted within me, and in the culture that I grew up in. And the return back, and the realization of the power of our language, the power of our food, the way that we get together, the traditions that keep us together, the way that is all built to support us in good and bad times. And there, just a simple fact of being in my grandfather's funeral and seeing literally 1,000+ people arrive, and celebrating his life in that way, because of how connected the community is. And I felt that, wow, that is I want that for myself, and in the sense that like I want to be integrated into that. And I started understanding all of the things that our parents used to tell us when we were kids. You need to go there, you need to congratulate that person, you need to attend that ceremony, you need to do all of that. And all of that is kind of built to create this very powerful legacy, and a reality in which you are part of something much bigger,
Part of a community.
and part of a community that carries you, and that makes you feel very present in a way, right? So yeah, I made a conscious effort again to come back, to attach to those roots, to explore them further, and to spend time with the various members of the family, and to hear their stories, and to make sure that I know these stories, so that then they become a part of my narrative. And I think that was like one of the most beautiful things for me over the past few years, to kind of reconnect with my being.
I think also because a lot of us Arab, we grew up in our like Arab countries, and then a lot of us do go outside for university, whether it's Europe or America or Canada. We so badly want to integrate into that society, even changing our friendships, being friends with all kinds of nationalities. But then it comes a certain point where you feel like you miss the feeling of home, and you feel that you miss the feeling of being around other Arabs as well. And I think that what you said is so nice, because I think we can connect in that way. Just being around what we're used to and what we grew up with is also like just a sense of safety.
Yeah, 100%. By the way, I'll just point because we can't miss it. It's we're now speaking in English, obviously, and like our Cherries podcast has always been in English since we started. بس كلنا بنتكلم عربي، كلنا حنبقى مع بعض.
شوي شوي.
بس بس يعني الفكرة ورا curated playlist أو Cherries podcast اللي احنا بنتكلم إنجليزي، لأن هنا بدبي معظم الناس it just became a universal language. بس مش معناها اللي احنا off the camera etc. and are sitting with our air friends ما بنتكلمش عربي. In whatever dialect you speak، لو مصري، لبناني، أردني، خليجي، بنتكلم وبنفهم على بعض. I also, because we spoke about identity and especially being rooted in the Middle East, a huge part of that is language and how you verbalize yourself. But because our audience for the Cherries podcast, and we even see it at Curated Playlist, it's a mix of all nationalities. بس مش معنى كده أبدا إن إحنا ما بنتكلمش عربي أو بنحاول نبعد ده من جزء من our identity أو فكرتي عن نفسي. I just wanted to clarify that as well, so we don't seem like we're being hypocritical. وإن شاء الله in the future we can actually host full episodes بالعربي.
ان شاء الله في احلى من اللغه العربيه، اللغه
Yeah.
اللي
لا
يلي فينا نلعب بكل كلمه لحتى يطلع منا مليون معنى.
مليون في المية. مليون في المية.
The ability to express ourselves in Arabic is the ability for us to expand the spectrum of expression in itself.
طبعا طبعا 100%.
We should do that more often.
Definitely.
I feel like the Arab language also is very poetic, very emotional. So I feel like just expressing yourself in an Arabic language adds a lot of meaning to the conversation.
It's not that there's a million dialects of this language. Yeah, بنحاول كلنا نفهم على بعض whatever dialect it is. Yeah. It goes to show how beautiful the language is. I wanted to touch on the language as well. Bassel, honestly, thank you so much. Before we kind of wrap this beautiful conversation up, we wanted to give you the spotlight a little bit as to what's in the pipeline for Quiqup and what should we be expecting from you guys.
In terms of Quiqup, I think I shared with you some of the stuff that we're working on at the
Yep.
moment. You know, there's going to be a lot of emphasis next year on in elevating that customer experience. We believe that that's the fundamental piece of the puzzle in terms of what our customers care about, but more importantly, about what our customers' customers care about.
Correct. Yeah.
Right, so there's going to be work on making the tracking better, the us understanding people's preferences better, etc. And I'm just going to keep it at that to not give away too much. And some of the things that we're thinking about is, how can we bring support to the decisions that you make as an entrepreneur, as an e-commerce entrepreneur? What kind of data is important to you in understanding about your business that we can process better than you would yourselves in a simpler way? And I would say maybe the last thing is that, we've spent this year sort of working on making Saudi work. So we've configured our setup there, and we've been testing various ways of running the operation there in order for us to deliver the same quality of experience to our customers in Saudi in the way that we do here in the UAE. And we're now starting to scale on that, and there's going to be a bigger focus there. So, it's both to empower businesses in the UAE that are looking to enter Saudi, and it's for businesses in Saudi that are looking to kind of offload their operations to Quiqup and eventually enter into the UAE.
That's incredible. And good luck with it all. And of course, we have to put our little curated playlist plug. So Quiqup is going to be one of our sponsors for our Whimsical Winter Pop-Up, December 5 to 7. So you guys will see their physical presence with us as well. We're really looking forward to it. And thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.